Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's growth call. My name is
What's up?
Steve. Hi. Hello to everybody on the Hangout. We got Christoph, Huey, and looks like Juan. Welcome. Yes. So we have the link to this week's growth call, the Hangouts link in the YouTube chat. So feel free to join the Hangout if you'd like and chat with us here. We also will be paying attention to the YouTube chat. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to post them there. Also, I put a link to the call's agenda in the description so you can get an idea of what we're going to be covering. For this call, we have these calls every week at this time to discuss how the Bisq network has been doing and what we can do to further its growth even more. We like to think of Bisq as the only true decentralized Bitcoin exchange that takes privacy, security, and resistance to censorship seriously. And for more details on how the software and the DAO achieve this, you can check out the links in the description for the video below. And also don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any updates from us in the future. For this call, we'd like to cover two main things. Hi, Pedro. We'd like to cover two main things. One, a market update, talk about liquidity and how the network has been doing over the past month. Very positive news there. So we'll talk about that. Christoph will talk more about that in a minute. And as well as an idea for growing liquidity further that Huey came up with a day or two ago. And then the other item is this not so great item of the scammer and chargebacks that we've been dealing with. We've come up with a couple of proposals to mitigate this and hopefully completely get rid of this problem in the future. So we'll talk more about those, as well as some UI considerations that we're thinking through right now. So for the market update, Christoph, would you like to get into that?
Sure, thanks. Regarding the market, we had and we will have a very successful DAO launch month. We do have already more than $5.7 million in total trading volume, with more than 1,700 trades and 1,100 Bitcoin being traded. So last week, I was estimating roughly between 4.5 to 6.5 million. So I think we are now close enough that we can say it will be somewhere between 6 to 6.8. So it's looking really good. It's mainly driven by the Monero market as in the past, and it's picking up over the last days again. The other thing that's very positive is that the Bisq Bitcoin market is also going really well. Also, we have seen 137 trades in total, with a trading volume of 9 Bitcoin. And if you just look at the time frame since the issuance or the release of the Bisq Bitcoin market, it's the third biggest market already on the network. So the first is Monero, second one is Euro Bitcoin, and the third is already the Bisq Bitcoin market. Talking about Euro Bitcoin market, we had issues in this market with a scammer being active there, and we started to block certain countries and banks, and of course addresses to prevent that he is spreading. But as we are still seeing suspiciously high prices in other markets as well, we got alerted so that there might be still some scammer around who are just switching to different payment methods. So if you are selling Bitcoin against any fiat payment method, then at the moment, please don't release your Bitcoin and let it go into arbitration. The arbitrators will tolerate this behavior and will verify the trade in this dispute. So a dispute will be created, and we saw in the past when the trade went to arbitration, it's very easily solvable and detectable if there's a scammer at work. And we just want to see, it's not sure if we have more scammers around, but before we have released our new security measures to prevent scamming or to make it as hard as possible, we don't want to take any chances and want to make it the worst platform for scammers there is. So just to repeat again, if you're selling Bitcoin against fiat payment methods, then don't release the Bitcoin at the moment. That's it already regarding the bad news. The good news is we are already working on different strategies to fight this scammy behavior. And there are 2 or 3 proposals at the moment discussed. So if you're interested and maybe want to give your opinion on that, join us on Slack and look into the GitHub repository. Maybe I can quickly show you. I will quickly do a screen share. Just a second. Where is my So yeah, so we have our proposals, a GitHub repository. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, so that's the GitHub proposals repository, and in the issues section, there are all proposals that are open, and the interesting ones that are being discussed at the moment is the delayed payout for fiat trades if the buyer's account is fresh. So we want to make it hard for scammers who want to just convert their stolen bank accounts into Bitcoin, so it's delayed. So there's a chance that it gets detected and charged back, also back charged or paid back. So so that's the one thing. The other proposal that's being discussed is the distributed reputation system, which generates a kind of a trust score, you could say, based on trading behavior and past trades and account and time spent. Since this time it's a little bit more sophisticated, so I don't want to get into lots of detail because we would have lots of discussions here. So if you're interested in more details, just go into this to one of these proposals, and as you see, there's lots of discussion going on. And the third one I wanted to point out is about self-certification of bank account details using ID verified digital certificates, which of course is kind of an open discussion at the moment, that we would leverage digital certificates that might be issued by governments. So in the European Union, you get it in most countries for free. And you can use it to sign documents, which then could be used to verify and certify bank account details without them knowing anything about Bisq. So that's also one proposal that's being discussed to fight scam on our system.
Christoph, do you mind if I just say something about this?
Sure. Yeah, please jump in. Very
quickly. I think it's important that we protect some kind of fast onboarding for newbies. It's very easy to get caught up in the needs of the people who've been trading for a long time, but the onboarding process is already much slower for Bisq, but for many other things. If we don't, and the risk for newbies trading in small amounts is very low. So it's very important that we maintain some kind of demo mode in which you can trade small amounts, but don't have to go through any additional. So even with the reputation system, obviously with the digital certificates, it'd be even harder. We want people who install Bisq to be able to trade on the same day, even if it's not with all the payment methods, even if it's only for small amounts, but we need to protect that demo feature. Otherwise, people just, log on, try it, see they can't do anything and give up. Yeah, that's absolutely true. What you're pointing out, Felix.
if we are taking two great measures and hurdles for scammers, we might just kill liquidity completely for especially for new users. And yeah, that's also something which we have on our roadmap to improve the onboarding itself, because first hurdle is you have to have Bitcoin to be able to trade on Bisq, to pay the deposit. And yeah, if we kind of, it was discussed in one of the proposals that if we just allow trades, demo trades with 0.001 something Bitcoin, then the mining fee and the deposit is already might be already enough collateral that it's not misused by scammers, and it can also be used already to start this verification process of account verification process, where the distributed certification proposal is based on.
Yeah, if I could just jump in and add that, I think first of all, none of these measures are going to apply to altcoin accounts. Obviously, there's no chargeback risk there. Also, they're not going to apply to cash-based payments either. So money orders, Western Union by cash, MoneyGram, face-to-face, all these payment methods don't have any of these risks. And I think to speak to Felix's point, I think that's something that we're going to have to maybe try to emphasize a little bit more to make sure that that users know that there is a way to trade on Bisq quickly without having to deal with any of these hurdles. So I just want to make that point. And I think there's also maybe a couple other payment methods that we can add pretty quickly to broaden the cash-based payment methods that we already have. So maybe we should maybe we'll talk about that more in the coming weeks as we finalize some of these measures.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're watching this and you know about a good cash-based payment method,
could we?
Yeah, Pedro. Pedro, do you want to say something?
Yeah, you're breaking up. I can't hear you. I don't know if others can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
A little bit better.
I was just wondering, in the same way that we have altcoin accounts and altcoin instant, maybe we could start by phasing this in using the certificates as a kind of hardened bank account. So you can imagine you can still have a SEPA and unsigned account, and then to more experienced users that want to have bigger trades, you just offer a second option that is just hardened by a certificate.
Also, it's worth mentioning that for many types of accounts, for example, UK faster payments, there is no risk of chargeback, and you cannot reverse a transaction once made. So we don't want to spoil the things that do work and where we haven't had any scams to fix the ones where we've had problems.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, what I wanted to say before Pedro jumped in, so if you're watching this and you're aware of some cash-based payment methods we're not supporting at the moment, please get in contact, create a GitHub issue either. There are already some payment method issues there, so you can take them as a template. What we need to integrate some of these cashback payment methods, and we'll try to include them as soon as possible. Maybe we make it kind of a package for the next release, having these new security measures to prevent scam, and also introduce new payment methods that are secure against scam, because they are cash-based.
Yeah, so we just to reiterate for folks who joined maybe afterward, very important announcement we made, or recommendation we made earlier on the call, was if you're trading, if you're selling Bitcoin on Bisq, please do not release the Bitcoin until, well, I guess basically make the trade go to arbitration. Don't release the Bitcoin immediately. The arbitrators will tolerate a little bit of delay beyond the traditional trade period until we have better measures in place to prevent this from happening. I do have a question though for Christoph.
Sorry, just to point it out, it's just for Bitcoin, selling Bitcoin for fiat, over fiat payment methods. So if you're selling crypto to crypto, there's no problem with that at all. So, just for Bitcoin fiat payment methods.
Important clarification. Thank you. But when do we have an idea of when we're going to release an initial protections?
So there are a couple of pull requests already in implementation. So Manfred is already quite far with the delayed payout, but the reputation system, I haven't seen. He already started with that, but we need to also solve some UI issues. Yeah, maybe we are even able to release a new version next week already. So it really depends if you run into any hurdles during testing, because lots of stuff changed. But yeah, if everything goes fine, we might see a release with these measures next week.
Okay, yeah. So the delayed payout thing should only be a few days until we have something built into the UI to handle it for you. Cool. Any other comments on these developments? Let me check the YouTube chat. Okay.
I just wanted to mention, in case you haven't already seen it, that there's some live offers for India. We've been waiting for a long time for that to happen. So if anyone knows anyone in India who's been thinking about trying Bisq, now is a good time.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. I saw your tweets earlier today. There's a great development. I think we wanted to make push in India a couple of months ago, but I talked to a couple of people, but wasn't able to figure out a strategy to actually have it to make it work. I think India is primarily peer-to-peer right now, but it seems like the market is not. My impression, at least, is that the market is not so familiar with the privacy considerations that Bisq offers, and so it's just hard to break into the market. There's not much of a momentum in terms of events and just avenues to reach people. At least those are the issues I found. But yeah, it's great if the market can organically build itself up, or at least get started. Then maybe we can try to push it along. But yeah, definitely exciting.
There's one thing I wanted to mention, because Huey just posted recently, I think it was in the Bisq forum, an idea how we could boost liquidity in our markets. Huey, do you want to quickly explain what you were thinking about? Huey, if you're speaking, you are muted at the moment. Okay, or maybe.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Okay. Let me share my screen. Yeah, because right now people know that Bisq is a place where they can go to trade, but they not always go to Bisq at the same time. So there's some discrepancies between offer makers and offer traders. So maybe we could advertise certain times in the day where there are more traders, so people could meet at the same time, and that would improve the harmony between the offer makers and offer traders. So if you look, for example, at the Brazilian market, this is right here, it's on UTC time, so maybe in Brazilian time it's a couple hours less, but we can see that from 11 p.m. to 14 p.m. there's almost no trades, and all of the trades happen in this side of the day. So if you advertise that that's the time they should be focused on, more people that usually thought that they needed to keep the clients 24/7, maybe they'll be able to leave it just 5 hours a day and keep the offers being broadcast. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huey, that's the data that you're showing is just for not just is for trades when they took place, right?
Yes. This is the hours of the day and the quantity of trades. And I can share the link of the document.
Well, what I find interesting on that the chart you were just showing is that it seems like trades overwhelmingly happen on Tuesday. It's kind of random but interesting.
Yeah, I guess because it's fiat, people want to pay at the beginning of the week to have time to have it processed. I don't know.
Yeah, but it looks like a useful piece of data. If you wanted to send a message out, Tuesday would be a good day to do it.
Yeah. Then
Yeah.
there's the euro market, the dollar market. Oh, this is the British, Canadian dollar, Australian. So we can see that there's often a little. Most of the time, people aren't trading, and they can just focus on certain time.
Yeah.
And if we can share that.
Yeah, sure. I think yeah, we can have a look if we are when we take all the data we have from our trading statistics. If the pattern gets more concrete and more clearly, yeah, and sure, we just have to think about how we want to communicate that. We quickly discussed it before the call. We could send out it by Twitter. Of course, we could post it in the forum and some places where people, or in the maybe even the docs section, if there's a really clear pattern for traders to look up when it's the best time to trade, or we could integrate it in our mobile client to send out geo-fans push notifications over the relay. But yeah, probably we try it out small. So first we'll look at a little bit more data, so we have a clear picture. That's a great start. What you did, Huey. And yeah, we could try send it out via Twitter and see if we see an uplift in this market. Yeah, I think it's worth a try.
And yes, and more than that, I think we could create a feedback loop so that offer makers would create offers at a certain time, and offer takers would be expecting offers at a certain time. So that could help.
Yeah. When we had this kind of liquidity events, which were organized by Felix, who joined the call today, it was always a great success. We made it for 1 week. We also had it for just 1 day, and yeah, it worked out always pretty well. And yeah, why not doing it now more structured for all markets on a regular basis, just to focus this matchmaking between of buyers and sellers. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Cool. Huey, did you want to add anything to that, or?
No.
Okay. Cool. I think that's the extent of what we wanted to cover on the call today. Does anybody want to add anything? Any comments, suggestions, last words?
No, nothing special. The only thing I'm really looking forward to, because I wanted to do it for a long time, but now this scammer got into it because Pedro is on the call today. Pedro already started working on a new onboarding process, some screen design, which looks quite promising. And yeah, I think at least for me, it would be the next item on my to-do list to tackle the user onboarding of new users in the Bisq client, which can be greatly improved. And I have the feeling that it's also it would also help us boost liquidity a lot. Yeah.
Just to speak to that, maybe can you speak just a little bit on what the main goal is for the onboarding? Is it to understand how the trading works, to understand how the wallet works, or yeah, I don't know if you noticed on the screens I sent or I shared. I was also trying to onboard not only for the trading system, but also to secure seed, um, the mnemonic seeds, and also just trying to understand how to set up accounts. What do you
Yeah.
see as the main goal for the onboarding?
For me, that's actually what you started to do is for me the onboarding I'm wanting to see to have to get to a state in the client where you have everything configured, kind of a best practice configuration of your Bisq client that you can start trading immediately. Because at the moment, that's also a valid approach. How we do it now, let the user explore as much as possible before doing too much stuff on their own. But the problem that we have then to show lots of pop-ups and hints on the way, which are getting quite distracting over the time. So I think it makes sense to pre-configure the client, to set up the account, set a password, and explain in more detail how you can trade on Bisq and how this works. And I think if you do that, then and kind of pre-configure the client based on this input, it will be way easier for new users to use Bisq in the end.
Is it possible to kind of present users with a slide that upon clicking on an option of 2, I think you always should give the option to skip, but given that the client actually, the user actually wants to configure, that would prompt the user to go immediately to a configuration page, set up, let's imagine, an account or set up a password, and then continue kind of a tutorial. Just treat it more as a tutorial as opposed to an onboarding, because right now the onboarding that I proposed was just a couple of slides that you maybe need to memorize a little too much before then stepping into the app. And by that time, you might have forgotten that you actually need to go in and write down your seed, or you just delay and nothing gets done.
No, what I meant, or maybe there was a misunderstanding from my side, this kind of onboarding process is not kind of a tutorial with kind of screenshots, and then you have to go to the client and do the stuff. It's already configuring everything while doing this onboarding. So we would, so at least that was my point of view, we would use already the underlying infrastructure to configure the client. If it's a problem, if the user has to do this initial pay account configuration all in this onboarding, and then he is in the client and he wants to add a new payment account, and then he has to look for it in the regular client. That's something that we have to think about. But I think for 90% of the users, if they start a client, they might have one or maybe 2 payment accounts. They are mainly interested in one market, and if that's pre-configured, or in some markets which they can maybe already pre-select during this onboarding, then they have everything ready to go, and maybe there's not even the need that they add new accounts later on. And or did I misunderstood what you wanted to do?
No, I think I agree. I was thinking in a slightly different way, but I think as long as we can set up configuration in that initial moment, like just have a slightly different interface that doesn't take you away from the onboarding process, I think we can get a lot of stuff done. Because I think the main problem about Bisq is that once you open after the loading screen and you're all connected to the network, you are then presented with so many options that you don't really know what to do. And like Bitcoin is already new for some people. Then you have a wallet, you have an account, you have accounts of fiat, accounts of altcoins. But if we segment those very clearly, one option and one single configuration per slide, it's that first moment where the user is using the app for the first time that they have a little bit more patience and trying to learn, as opposed to being presented with everything at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, just the end of this onboarding would be that people are reaching the, let's say, buy Bitcoin screen. They are the market with the payment method. They just configured in this onboarding already pre-selected, and they can just click on taking the first offer, so that they don't. So yeah, so the taking of the offer is kind of this final process on of this onboarding. And yeah, of course, if there are no offers, then we have to present them to create a new offer. But for most markets, there should be enough offers available.
Yeah, and just another thing, just in terms of growth, I don't know. I've been doing a little bit of an experiment with mostly family members, and so what I've been doing is just sending them, asking them to install Bisq and sending them the deposit through, like, they just send me the address, and then let them trade with that deposit, hoping to at some point get it back. Has anyone else tried to think about I don't know, it's very trust based, but a way that can be kind of, the first deposit can be financed through a third party, or something that allows people to maybe just get their hands on their first Bitcoin, so they can then not worry about deposit, because the requirement of deposit obviously is a major hurdle for a new user of Bitcoin. Obviously, the people using Bisq are already somewhat knowledgeable and probably own Bitcoin, but just thinking about if anybody has ever thought about some possibility of fronting the deposit of someone else in a more secure way that doesn't need to be family and friends.
Yeah, to have this kind of lending markets, there was I don't know if it's still active on the Bisq forum. There were people lending, giving lending Bitcoin for this initial deposit to be expected paid back afterwards. It worked. Sometimes it didn't work. So to have to have a kind of a professional, to have a kind of a lending market, yeah. It might be a lot of work if you want to implement it. Maybe it would be a separate application. People then need to do kind of KYC on their own to reduce risk a little bit. There was something posted just by Huey. Let me see.
Yeah, I don't know. As you were talking about this, I wasn't aware that this had already been experimented with, but I can see I only see problems with this. There is no there is no guarantees you would ever. I mean, it's a risk. I do it with even with my brother. I did it. It's like I don't expect it back. He's gonna forget, or he's gonna lose it, or he's gonna lose track of it. Whatever.
Yeah, I also did it personally with friends where I just sent a Bitcoin and guided them through the client myself, and then just they just send it back. Yeah, but maybe we could do something based on this idea, kind of a referral system. We can't do a real referral program awarding user somehow, because we don't have identity. It can be gamed quite easily, but maybe we can do something with just kind of a social feature, so that people who refer. So I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but you can set a referral code within the client, which is then stored with a trade. So what we could do is, if you kind of invite people to Bisq and maybe even board lending them some Bitcoin, and they enter your referral code and do a trade, we could display kind of a Bisq loyalty badge or something on the avatar. Also, we have these user icons just to have kind of a social incentive to try to spread Bisq. But having a real referral system, which let's say pays a BSQ as a kind of a referral price, it's quite hard to implement properly, because it can be
it's
gamed quite
probably-
easily.
And it's probably for the better. I mean, now that you're talking about it, it just feels like it's even way too early. Like there's other issues at hand that it's even best if only more experienced users are using it and people already understand what's at stake. So you don't get like, yeah.
Yes. I had a suggestion. I put the link on the chat, but I think we could have by just changing a few things on the Bisq software, we could have a third party paying the security deposit for you.
Oh, and then
And-
getting
Yes,
getting-
and having the Bisq software then make the payout to addresses
yeah.
to yours and then to the third party.
So just return that input.
Yes, so I think that would lower the need for trust in the.
Yeah, so it's like more of a, instead of lending, you're vouching for someone else.
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
if it scams, then both lose. If it goes well, then you get the guarantee that you get your money back. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, and it could also be with interest rate. So if someone wants to do it as a business, so not only the deposit is paid back, but even interest rate on top. But yeah, I'm just scanning through the proposal. Yeah, with the current trade protocol, I don't think it's possible to implement. But with the new trade protocol, we could think about adding this kind of option, so we can build upon this idea later on.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's it from my side.
Cool. Lots of good ideas. There's one thing I think DJ Seafair was asking about Grin. So we used to allow trading for Grin, but I believe it was hard to verify transactions, so we had to remove it. Is there a chance? Do we have a roadmap for that, or I don't know?
Actually, we just would need feedback from the Green community if there's if I think as far as I remember back then there was still a pull request open, but I guess it's merged already and deployed. So there's so it's verifiable via Greenbox. But yeah, I think the only thing that we need to enable Grin again is some feedback on from the community if the transfer of money between the wallets works fine already, and if the proof of transfer is also working fine, then yeah, we're happy to enable it again. We just disabled it because so many trades went into arbitration because there were issues, as the software was quite early back then. And it will be more stable for sure now already. But yeah, we just didn't enable it because yeah, we didn't have time because of the DAO implementation, the DAO launch, to look into the current Grin state ourselves. So if you're using Grin and you're experienced with that, approach us on Slack or GitHub, and yeah, we can have a look on the current state and we'll enable it again.
Cool. There you go. Any other comments or questions? Cool. All right. Well, if that's it, then we're going to wrap it up and thank everybody for joining. And we'll have a growth call again next week at this time.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.